I always ask myself, is the juice worth the squeeze? And after a lot of thought, I faced my fears of flying long distances, and I'm very happy that I decided to come to Punta del Este. I'm with my family, the ACR team pros, the ACR staff, and I have a chance to win $145,000. This could be the biggest score of my career. Let's stay focused, let's play good, and run like the sun. Big day 3. Let's get that trophy. And we made it to day 3 of the $3,300 Punta del Este Enjoy Poker Tour High Roller event as chip leader. 1 of 16, 1.5 million, coming back to 24,000 big blind.
Great to be the chip leader. That means no one can bust me in one given hand. We're going to apply max pressure to all these people, make them fear the pay jumps, and capture the first prize.
I gotta say, results aside, I am very happy that I decided to embark on this journey 10,000 kilometers away from home.
My flight landed late night, day 1, could not reg, but we regged day 2 with 30 blinds, ran it up to the chip lead stack. Day 3, we're here, we're ready to crush. It's my time, let's go.
Yes, I am wearing a Breathe Right nose strip. This is not a fashion statement. This is pure utility. John Party introduced me to these, and it does open your nasal passages for more oxygen intake into the brain and less mouth breathing. A win-win overall, especially in a high-pressure situation like a high-roller poker tournament. I'm very happy with the results. Check them out for yourself. Worst case scenario, you don't like it and you lose a couple dollars. Stay hydrated and breathe right every day. This is the final 16 of a 203-person field. Day 3, we are at the feature table. 2 tables of 8. I am barely chip leader with 1.5 million. Fonseca's opens the hijack to 50,000 at 12,000, 24,000 with King Jack of Hearts. Definitely standard. We're in the big blind with the Ace 9 of Hearts. I think this could be a mix between a call and a 3-bet against the other nearly chip leader. I think it's best to just put in the call. When the flop comes, Ace Jack 6, we check to the original raiser, is going to be c-betting close to 100% on this board. We do not have the backdoor hearts, but we do have top pair, and we're just going to go with the check call. They do have the range advantage. Let's see what happens on the turn. 55,000, happily call. 246K in the pot. 4 of spades on the turn, a brick. We check in flow. And Fonseca thinks about it and checks it back. We have to think our top pair is good now. Hoping for a brick on the river so we can get that value from kings, queens, jack X, etc. 10 comes in. We don't block king, queen. He could have the nut straight, but we can't be scared of that. So our choices are bet or check call. We're going to go with a bet, sizing just under half pot, 110,000, double his flop bet. He thinks about it for a while and eventually puts in the call, and we take down a nice pot, extending our chip lead. And we're on to the next hand. A bit nervous, but this makes us feel a lot better about the situation. Still fighting jet lag. 14 remain. We're 7-handed. The hijack looks down at pocket nines. 30K big blind shoves 222,000 into the middle. Dose, dose, dose. Although they don't do numbers like that, as I've learned. Action folds to me on the button. I look down at the hooks. Pocket jacks.
Jacks of mine, today you will die. Like every fucking time I've ever held you. No double ups or enormous pots. Sometimes you'll steal the blinds, and I'll sit there and stew.
We're not folding. The question is, do we call, min raise, or shove all in? 1.7 million in our stack. I think the correct play is just call and evaluate if we get crazy action from behind, because Corn almost has us covered. Against a 7.5 big blind jam, we put in the call with the hooks. We are delighted to see pocket nines. 82% to win. Let's hold. The flop comes. Queen, 5, deuce. No back doors. Clean as a whistle. 4 on the turn. 8 on the river. Almost the 9 of diamonds. And he's gone. 13 remain. And we're chipping up. We now have 2 million. Almost 70 big blinds in the zone. GG Depaulo. Barbaro in the cutoff opens the minimum to 60,000 with the 10-9 of hearts. This is Nacho Barbaro's brother. Real brother, believe it or not. Shout out to Nacho, who's held over me many, many times. Congratulations. It's no longer the year of the Nacho, it's the year of the Boski, especially in South America. Action folds to me in the small blind, and we look down at the kings. The Butchers, clear 3-bet. The question is what size to use. I think 200,000 is appropriate. Corn still behind us with similar stack, putting Barbaro in a tough spot with the 10-9 of hearts. What would you do in this spot? Flat? jam, fold. Barbero thinks about it for a while as one of the shorter stacks. 12 players remain and thinks better of it and lays it down painfully. And we take down another nice pot. Corn raises the king jack suited under the gun off a 1.7 million stack to 60,000 at 30K big blind. Folds to be in the big blind. Against early position raise, we don't want to get too out of line, especially when we have similar stacks, so we just put in the call. With the king queen offsuit, 69% to win. Flop comes king 7-5 rainbow. Great flop. Of course, we still lose to ace king, kings, aces, pocket sevens. So we check to the razor and he puts out a C bet, a large C bet, 100,000 or cient in Spanish. I don't think raising makes too much sense other than protecting against ace high holdings. So we just put in the call. The turn's a 10, a brick unless he has pocket 10s or king 10 suited. We check in flow and he decides to not slow down and bet again. Corn bets 230,000. What's he repping? I don't know, but we're not going anywhere just yet with our top pair. So we put in the call and hope for, I guess, no ace on the river.
Oh, la carta soñada.
Not the best card for our range versus his range. We check to the razor and he quickly bets out a small bet, 200,000. On the surface, you're like, oh, easy call. You only got to be right here 1 out of 5 times to break even. But in reality, what hands is he betting this amount for value? Ace jack, pocket queens, king 9 suited? What do we beat? Can we make the crazy laydown? No, we can't. We've come this far. You're milking us. Nice river. Congratulations. I show little to no emotion at how lucky he got on that river, and we're not going to let that affect our gameplay. And we lose the chip lead to the person to our left. Not optimal. Small setback. Let's stay focused. Let's stay stoic. Marcus Aurelius. Shout out KevLada. Fonseca's off a 1.2 million stack opens the hijack with queen 10. We look down at 7-5 of hearts on the button. We do want a low frequency mix these into our 3-bet range, especially on the button with these effective stacks. So we 3x to 180,000. The blinds fold, and Fonseca shows us some respect and lays it down. Little momentum back after that horrible jack on the river. We got jacked. Blinds are up with blinds at 20,000, 40,000, 40,000. Action folds to us in the hijack with the 10-8 of diamonds. Near the bottom of our opening range off a 2 million stack, but an open nonetheless. We go ahead and pump it up to 80,000, the minimum. Corn quickly puts in the call with the pocket 5s. In the cutoff, having us covered, we have to be somewhat careful. Action folds the big blind Fonseca with the queen 9 of diamonds. Pretty tempting spot to flick in one more blind, and he does just that. Graphics are slightly wrong on this one. And the flop comes king 9 7 1 diamond. Good flop for us. Open-ended backdoor diamond draw. Going to continue in the 3-way. Should get some respect from our bet. The question is, what size do we choose? I think a solver might like a 30% pot bet, but we're going to go around half pot. Try to force out some folds from some better hands. We're happy to take it down right now, and we don't want to get raised. The bigger you bet, the less likely it is that people will raise you compared to a smaller bet, in theory. So we choose 150,000 as our sizing. The 5s quickly hit the muck as an underpair, and Fonseca with middle pair and better backdoor diamond draw thinks better of it and makes the laydown. More respect from the only gringo in the field. 11 players remain, and we take it down, putting us up to 2.2 million.
Pretty exciting first hour. Ran pretty well in a lot of spots. Beat short stacks 9s with jacks. Some C-bets got through, and got some value. Unfortunately, losing the king queen to king jack. Almost folded river, but bet was so small. The hands I'm beating are like king queen for a chop, and I just lose to ace king. I probably should have just folded the river. That would have been sick, but getting like 5 to 1 on my money. Pretty tough, but one small setback. Nothing we can do there.
6-handed.
Yeah, right.
6-handed. Like online.
Conectar la J roja en el river, si no, tenemos oficialmente mesa final.
Señores y señores, sorprendentemente pasamos, o sea, estamos anonadados con la mano como se dio. Fonseca se pone con un stack muy grande.
And we have made it to the official final table. 203 entrants, 9 remain. I might be chip leader, doesn't matter. I got to win like 10 million chips. Everybody's been super cool. Really looking forward to just winning this trophy right over here and 145,000 USD right into my ACR account. Don't rob me.
With blinds at 20,000, 40,000, action folds to the small blind. Hermo looks down at the kings. Definitely standard to raise here, but he might think I'm going to get a little froggy as the chip leader, sniffing out some weakness. He just puts in the call, setting the trap. We got the 7 deuce, the bottom of our range. I contemplate an ISO, as you will do with a polarized, very good hand and very bad hand range, but I think better of it and just check it back. I have 2 million, he has 1 million, and the flop comes 5-5 deuce. We do have the 7 of spades, and we got 2 pair. Not a bad flop at all. I expect my opponent to lead here for a min bet or just over a min bet at a high frequency, 45,000. So our options are call or raise. I kind of like a raise here just to deny any overcard equity. We do have bottom 2 pair, so every other pair he can make is going to be better than ours. We're happy to take it down here. What size do I choose? I think 3x is a natural choice in position, and we can do this as bluffs, and it's going to be immediately profitable against their minimum defense frequency. So I make it 135,000 with 7 deuce. When we get to 8, it will go to the American ACR stream and commentary, so stay tuned for that, hopefully. He thinks about it with his pocket kings, no spade, and I think the best play here is just call. If I got a 5, you want to limit the damage. If I'm bluffing, you want to let me keep bluffing with little to no equity. So Hermo puts in the call. I am cautious at this point because his min bet on the flop, which could be most anything, is now at least something. Turns a queen of hearts, 2 flush draws out there. Could bet small again to charge like ace 4, ace 3, or 2 spade holdings that aren't paired, but we elect for a little pot control and check it back, trying to get to showdown. The 30-second clock for every decision and time cards are in play. We check it back, and we're happy to see the deuce of clubs. We got a boat, but boat no good if he's got a 5 or pocket queens. He thinks about it and checks it over to us, assuming that it's going to be tough to get value unless we specifically have, a queen, something that's going to value bet on this board texture. We're going to have missed spades, we're going to have missed straight draws. So the question is, what size would you choose with the underboat with the 7 deuce? I think we want to polarize to missed draws and boats, and it's unlikely we have a 5 to check back the turn when it's double flush draw. So we size up to almost pot, about 350.
How much would that be? And she looks at me and she says, I need about 350.
Exact sizing, 345, as close as I could get to 350, intentionally of course. He thinks about it and quickly calls and sees the bad news. That is the 7 deuce, scooping a million chip pot. Final table of 9, running good, feeling good. Still 40K big blind. Action folds to Zanetti in the hijack, who has 8 bigs and queen jack off. Fairly standard shove here. We look down at pocket 7s, the hockey sticks, on the button with 2.7 million. Can definitely afford to gamble and make it the official final table of 8. We elect to do so with just a call. Don't see much reason in shoving all in here. We can still fold if need be, if there's significant action behind. Everybody folds, and we got a 750K flip and possible ladder. Let's hold. The flop comes. Queen 10-9, a great flop for my opponent. I remember in this moment, I say, how do you say spade in Spanish? And as soon as I say that, a 7 pops right off on the turn. And he said, well, how do you say 7? And I say, siete. He does have 8 clean outs, and there it is. He is not eliminated. Big shout out to my opponents for not celebrating in my face, being the lone American wolf in this foreign land, 10,000 kilometers away from home. We double up a shorty, a mere flesh wound, and the grind continues. 9 players still remain. 9-handed, final table, unofficial. Action folds to middle position. Hermo with the pocket 5s and just under 15 bigs decides to open for the minimum. I'm pleasantly surprised to look down at the ladies in the hijack. Pretty standard to 3-bet. Want to size down a bit versus this effective stack size. 2.5x is appropriate, so we make it 200,000 to go. Putting his tournament life effectively on the line, this is what we call leveraging. And to put the pressure on, and then Korn asked to see the chips. We're about the same exact stack at this point, and he quickly flat calls. Historically, when people flat call 3-bets, their hand range is very strong, but not super strong. It's usually tens, jacks, ace, queen, those three hands in particular. Pay attention. In this case, he's got the aces. What would I have done if he 4-bet? Probably jam. What else am I going to do with the ladies? Action folds back around to Hermo, who thinks about it. Jamming doesn't seem very good to him. He doesn't have any perceived fold equity. Calling, probably just as a set mind, seems okay, but he's not very deep, so the implied odds aren't really there. He eventually decides to put in the call and wants to gamble, hoping for that miracle 5 on the flop. We're 3 ways. My heart is pounding. I'm hoping for low cards dealer or specifically a queen to make my life very easy. Keep in mind there are 12 million chips in play, so this pot has ballooned. ICM is a thing. 145,000 for first, 100,000 for second. This could be my new high score. With 700,000 chips in the middle, the flop comes queen high, queen 10-9. Of course, we could be worried about King Jack from the original Razor. Probably not so much the flat caller. Checks to us, and I think we have to bet for protection. We do have the Queen of Diamonds, which is good, just in case. What size do we choose? About tree fitty. Half pot. If my opponent has jacks, 10s, or 9s, we want to charge him. We want to get it while the getting's good. Corn asks for a count and puts in the call. Easy fold for Hermo, and we're hoping for a brick on the turn. Let's get 3 streets of value with top set. With 1.4 million in the middle, the turn is the jack. Ace King gets there. I'm going to have a lot of Ace King in my range, and so might he. He might have flatted Ace King if he's flatting Ace Queen, 9s, 10s, jacks. So I don't think there's too much value in betting. He could have King Queen suited. It would have to be King Queen of spades because we block all the other ones. So we check. Little pot control, and Corn quickly checks behind, which is a pretty good sign. Now I think his most likely holdings are jacks, 10s, or 9s, because he's afraid I have Ace King. The river comes out a brick, 3 of spades, and it's time to go for value. What size would you choose? I think around 30% a pot is correct. What number is 30% a pot? 420, Bob. Double count it, line it up, call me with your set, and he quickly and correctly folds aces. Could have gone a lot better, could have gone a lot worse. Grateful to crack aces with queens at this final table. Speaking of the ladies.
Hey.
Woo, ladies.
Well, this is important. This is for your vlog people.
That's correct.
Who do you have to thank for being here in Uruguay?
I was adamant that I was not coming due to my fear of flying and travel and bad luck, but Ebony convinced me that Copa's a good way to go, first class, which is mostly true. And the more valuable is the experience that I'll be missing out on. I'm only getting older. You only live once. Huh? I'm trying to knock them out. What do you want me to do? So shout out to Ebony. Dinner's on me if I win.
Yes. Oh, no, I'll take a good bottle of wine.
And then some. Wine,
Drinking,
weed,
yeah.
whatever you want.
Yeah, but yes. Oh.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Vamos a ver si logra Dos Santos encontrar ese mágico 10. No es en el flop.
Y no hay tréboles.
No hay backdoor. No hay tréboles.
10 o 10.
Excepto el 10 que no llega. Tenemos a la primera eliminación de esta FT. El brasileño se nos despide.
Good draw. Final 8. Final table.
Bueno, ahí perdemos al jugador argentino Pablo Andreu, posición número 8, $17.310 para él. Perdemos a otro jugador, a Hermo, posición número 7, $20.085 para él. Un buen payout el día de hoy.
With blinds at 40,000, 80,000, 6 players remain. Katzman's under the gun with 7 bigs and King 8 of hearts. Pretty reasonable spot to jam with the big blind ante format. You're going to lose, a quarter of your stack pre-flop the very next hand. Unfortunately, Korn wakes up with aces, puts in the call. King 8 is at risk.
Jump. Another 5K ladder up for grabs. Fair
And they're
amount.
dead on the turn. 5 players remain. Get your ladders out in chat. We got that pay jump.
Jeez. So many different turn cards could have opened up straight draws, flush draws, and that was absolutely none of them. Gaston Katzman there. Going to be good for 23.5K, is going to be our 6th place finisher now.
Down to the final 5. I look down at Jack 10 off on the button. Pretty standard open off an over 3 million chip stack. Corn, who slightly covers me, puts in the call. We might have to proceed with caution. Let's see what we flop. I flop top pair. 2 spades. We do have the jack of spades. Now, it might seem instinctual to c-bet here, but I think with the plethora of draws, we don't want to bloat the pot, and we do want to practice some pot control and deception, so we check it back. 5 on the turn. He's going to have more 5s than us. So when he bets, we're happy to just put in the call. In position, 200,000, reasonable price, hoping for a brick on the river so we can catch his bluffs. Or he might have a worse 10 or a 9 for value, putting us on something like ace high, or a draw ourselves. Queen jack, jack 9, king jack, king queen, all reasonable holdings for me to have here as well. So the river comes, an offsuit 4. Love to see it. He quickly assembles a bet of 525,000. Can't fold, don't see too much value in raising, so we put in the call and see the good news. Jack kicker plays, and we take the chip lead back. Corn opens, pocket 3s, under the gun, bit loose but reasonable. It's tough to make a pair. The minimum. Fonseca finds the solver, almost pure 3-bet candidate, ace 5 suited on the button. He wants to put the pressure on. We all have pretty deep stacks at this point. 2.5x is the 3-bet to 400,000. Corn puts in the call. And similar to earlier on, where they had pocket 3s versus ace 5.
We're going to go to a flop.
Just says, yo, my 3's good. I feel, watch, he's going to flop quads here. He just knows it. He just feels it. Oh, one of them out. Oh, how good does that feel? That's probably one of my favorite feelings in poker, is just flopping that random set on a raggedy board. You just feel like you're super sneaky. Like nobody knows you just have like a fat stick of dynamite ready to rock. You know?
In this situation, Corn checks to the razor with bottom set, and Fonseca with the apparent range advantage, although the Queen 9 suited flop will hit the flatter's range pretty hard. King Queen, Queen Jack, Jack 10, pocket 9s, all very reasonable holdings for Corn to have, but he actually has bottom set facing a 220K bet, quarter pot. He just puts in the call. He's slow playing. I probably wouldn't slow play here, hoping to get value from, you know, ace, queen, kings, aces, etc. But he sets the trap. The turn's a 4, giving Fonseca 4 clean outs to actually win this hand. Fonseca chooses not to barrel when they turn the equity, and we're off to see a river. Imagine if he drops a deuce on him.
Oh, no!
Just stop.
Oh, wow.
The river's a deuce. Corn wants to go for value now, targeting hands like pocket jacks, ace 9, pocket 10s, stuff like that. Corn can have a lot of missed draws, so when he assembles a bet of 475,000, Fonseca has one move and one move only with 1.8 million. Counts it down, lines it up, and sticks it in. Gets snapped off. Corn sees the bad news. He can't believe his luck, and he's down to just a few blinds. Due to that epic cooler set versus straight, I am no longer chip leader. Fonseca takes it over with a 5 million stack. It's okay though, we have position. The very next hand, Corn loses. Corn takes home just over 28,000 USD for his efforts, and then there were 4. My largest score previously is 121,000 in the Triton $25,000 buy-in turbo event. Full disclaimer, I got in that on a free roll. So in reality, that was a $30,000 score. Reality is not always as it seems. A few hands later, action folds the small blind Piazza, who shoves just over 20 bigs with ace 3 off. Very aggressive. Fonseca not buying what he's selling, snaps him off with pocket 6s. Will they hold? Queen 9-8, don't want to see the board pair. Never really rooting against people, but in reality, you're always rooting against the short stack at a final table. Pay jumps are a thing, just probably not good to openly root against them. It's kind of a weird thing. No ace on the river, and Piazza is out in 4th place.
And there it is, folks. Mr. Roberto Piazza Good for 36 dimes and some change. Now there were 3. Everybody guaranteed 60K. The final 3 payouts here, 60,000,
I was gonna say,
100,000, and 145.
Good game. Enjoy your mate. Very traditional drink in South America. I got myself some mate, and now we're three-handed. Blinds 40,000, 80,000. Chip leader on my right, shorty on my left. They're dropping like flies. Not much we can do. Zanetti defends the 9-7 off with a 1 million chip stack, just over 12 bigs. We are not incentivized to go to war with the chip leader, but sometimes coolers happen. The flop comes ace-9-3, top pair versus middle pair. This could be fireworks. Zanetti checks over to Fonseca, who puts in the standard C-bet on the ace-high board, especially when holding an ace. The down bet. 100,000 gets called. Zanetti looking for a 9 or a 7. And a 7 he gets. Checks to Fonseca, who's ready to really apply the pressure and try to get value from his top pair. Doesn't put his opponent on an ace because he didn't shove pre-flop. So he goes for 400,000 as his bet size. Zanetti can't wait to get his chips in, but he takes his time to feign weakness, get that value from 2 pair. Zanetti shoves all in. Fonseca doesn't like it, but he's getting a great price. About 400,000 more to call and possibly eliminate a player. Fonseca does put in the call. Zanetti's 82% to double up unless the river comes in ace, 4, or 3. And the river's a 3, counterfeiting the 9-7.
Oh my God.
Absolute pain.
Oh, that is brutal. What are we doing here?
And we're heads up. 100,000 locked up. 145,000 for first. Give my man some dap. We celebrate. Boom. Handshakes are a little bit different in South America. They go right to the thumbs, if you know what I'm saying. Thumb to thumb. It's not like a gentleman's handshake. It's boom and out. That's it, which I like. Shout out to South America. And that was actually the last hand of the level. And we're on break. Blinds will be 50,000, 100,000 when we return. I go to the bathroom, try to compose myself, and pinch myself because here we are.
Feel great. Ricard dead for the last hour. He was able to knock out like 4 people or something, so that's fine. I think I'm down 2-1 in chips. Not a problem. We can take it down. 45K heads up. Let's do it.
The good thing mentally about being a 2-1 chip deficit is you don't have too much to lose. You're expected to lose, so if you win, it's a bonus. So let's play heads up for $45,000.
My opponent is so scared he won't show up. He's in the bathroom puking or something. 40 bigs versus 80 bigs. 145K, 100K. Where's he at? I don't see him. Blind him out. Blind him out.
The very first hand of heads up, we look down at King 6, raised it up to 250,000. At 50,000, 100,000, we get called by Queen 5 of diamonds. Flop comes ace, ace 9, better flop for our range, so we bet small. 125,000, about 20% of pot. We would do this with all of our ace X, 9X holdings, even king high for value, and value we get. He does have backdoor diamonds. With 850K in the pot, we see a brick on the turn, the 3 of clubs. Fonseca checks to us. We could check back, just try to go to showdown with king high, but there's something about the first hand of heads up, much like the first day of prison, where you don't want people to just take your jello. They gotta earn it. You gotta show them who's boss.
Man, give me a fruit cocktail.
Well, I can't. If I did that, then I'd have to give it to you every day, and I won't get all my vitamins.
Do you know who you're dealing with? Kill nasty, Nate.
We continue our story, betting for value with king high. What size, you ask? Same size we'd do if we had an ace, or kings, or queens, or nice 2 pair. 250,000 is the bet, and my opponent calls. Not buying what we're selling. King high's good until a queen hits the river. My opponent checks. Do I go for value again? Do I turn my hand into a bluff? No. Always good to contemplate all options. We have 30 seconds on every street. Time is money, and we check it back. We see the bad news, and we're even at a greater chip deficit, but we're still in the zone. It's not going to affect our play. Where the blinds at? 50,000, 100,000. Fonseca opens to 250,000. Look down at 10-4 of spades. Obviously going to continue with this suited 5-gapper. Question is, Do we call or we 3-bet? We're going to mix in a call this time. We're off to see a flop of King 8-8, Diamond, Diamond, Heart. We wish we had a backdoor spade. Check to the original raiser, who has the Ace-4 of clubs, who bets small. Against these small bets, I'm more likely to check raise because we're getting a better price to just win the pot. So with 600K in the pot, my opponent bets 100,000, the minimum. So for me to check raise to say 400,000 or so, this only has to work a small percentage of the time to be immediately profitable. So with our airball, we check raise, planning on just shutting down if called. It's a highly aggressive heads-up match, so you got to show them you're here to gamble. But this is definitely very loose on my part. 420, Bob.
I've waited all my life to say this, Bob. 420.
There's no 5K chips in play, so I made it 425,000. Graphics are a little bit off with the dealer in big blind situation, but we take it down, and every pot counts heads up. 100K big blind ante. Fonseca opens to 250K. We look down at the Queen 10 off. Fine hand to just defend. We want to have more of a polar 3-betting strategy, and we want to keep in our dominated queens, such as Queen 6. Imagine if it comes Queen high. The flop comes 10, 3, 3, Diamond, Diamond, Heart. I check, he bets small as he would do with his range on paired boards like this. 125K. We check raise to 425 again, this time with value. Top pair, backdoor diamond draw. Deny some equity from Ace and King X holdings, and he doesn't have much to continue with. He folds, and we take it down.
This is a historic occasion. I think, Rich, I think this is the first guy to ever bid 420 on something and then won. Exactly, it is. I think it is the first time, yeah. Congratulations.
100K big blind ante. Fonseca opens to 250K. We're in the big blind with the 8-4 of diamonds, obviously not folding. We can mix between calling and 3-betting. So let's 3-bet. We can rep high card boards or actually hit low boards with these type of small suited gappers. Make it 750,000 to go. We change our sizing slightly considering our effective stack depth. 3x is open. He's going to be opening very wide, and he puts in the call with the king queen. I think he could jam this, but we're happy that he just calls because the flop comes Ace 4-4 with 2 hearts. We got trips.
Oh my god, look at that flop.
Heart pounding. All I can think about is, oh my god, please have an ace. Let's get 3 streets. Action's on me. The question is, what do we bet? I think around 20% of pot is fine on a paired board like this. Do have to protect a little against flush draws, but we're jumping for joy with our trips. Very hard to make trips, especially in a 3-bet pot heads up. My opponent quickly calls. Do they have pocket aces? Do they have us outkicked? Do they have a flush draw? The turn is a 10. He now has a Broadway draw. The question is, do we bet or check? And if we bet, what size do we choose? I think we want to go geometric. 800,000 seems right with 2.2 behind after our bet, setting up that river jam. Our 800,000 bet is met with no resistance, and he folds the nut no pair and Broadway draw. Good fold. But we take down a nice pot, fighting back to get that chip lead. Heads up for $45,000 difference.
You know, Fonseca doesn't have a hand that plays very well post-flop, so taking a hand like this and kind of turning it into a 3-bet bluff is not a terrible strategy. It does kind of put Boski in a blender with a decent amount of his raising hands, and it's going to get through. Definitely a strategy some of you can implement next time you're heads up. Taking some of those offsuit jacks, queens, kings that have some blocker potential, but just play like garbage post, and turning it into a more profitable way to win by 3-betting them.
Very, very aggressive heads-up match. A big game of chicken. Just a matter of when the cooler comes, when pocket 8s versus ace-queen gets dealt, for instance. You know it's going in, but there has not been a 4-bet yet. Fonseca's on the button with the 9-7 of hearts. Standard raise to 250K. We look down at Alan Jackson. I have a feeling he's going to jam this time for some reason. It's going to be a 10 million chip flip. He doesn't jam. He just calls. Let's see a flop. Ace or jack high flop. One time dealer. 1.6 million in the middle, but the flop comes low. We do have the jack of clubs. By betting, we can fold out hands like Queen 10, Queen Jack, 9-10 that have some equity against our ace high, and set up a possible barrel if we turn a jack or an ace or maybe a club. The size I choose is 30% pot, 500,000. About 1.5 pots behind if called. And we do get called. He has the double belly. He's not going anywhere. The turn's a king of hearts. We do have the ace-king advantage King, queen, king, jack. I use a time bank thinking about whether or not we're going to barrel here and to what size. I even think about just jamming it, trying to get him to fold. Hands like 6-8, ace-5, ace-4, ace-deuce. Club draws that we're actually beating. Queen 10 of clubs, 10-9 of clubs, etc. Heart pounding. I decide to check. Maybe we can just check this down. We do beat ace-deuce, ace-4, ace-7, 8-7, but he's not having it. Fonseca does not check back. He bets $850,000, and believe it or not, I'm contemplating a jam here with Alan Jackson. All I can hear is, worst punt ever. What were you thinking? Of course you were beat. Why did you check jam ace-jack? It would have worked, but I can't see the cards. We almost pulled the trigger. I'm not Hollywooding, as I'm stoically sitting there contemplating all my decisions and everything that's happened to me in the last 40 years of my life. But eventually we find the fold, and the heads-up battle continues.
But I think they both played the hand perfectly, and sometimes that's what happens too, is you both play the hand well, and you just don't get to win every hand.
I very much like your intuition there on the turn, because your opponent is not really wrapping a lot. Even hands like king 7, king 8, those floats with backdoor would very often just check back the flop. And very often it's going to be those kind of floating 10-9, 9-7, 9-8 kind of hands. And I don't think you need to jam. I think you can even just raise to 1.8 million and attack those hands that just want to see a cheap river. However, two options here. If you bet the flop, you very often have to make a move on some turns that don't necessarily improve your hand, or a small check raise on the turn to get those hands to fold. I really like your intuition. I think you understand that your opponent is not really having a lot of value hands, like good value hands, right? Some turn 2 pairs, yes, some slow played sets, but apart from that, 70-80% of the time he's going to be on those 9-8, 7-8, 9-7, ace-5 suited kind of hands that are going to fold if you raise small here.
The very next hand, at a shallower stack depth, I have about 38 blinds. I decide to start limping some of my range, and king 7 suited seems like a pretty good candidate. Wouldn't be too thrilled to call a 3-bet, so we just call and keep all of his dominated king X and 7X flush draw type hands in the mix. He does not check it back. He 4Xs to 400,000 with the queen jack. Pretty reasonable play. We're not going anywhere. We put in the call. He does have us out chip 2-1 when this hand begins. Back to pretty much where we started many hands ago. With 800K in the pot, the flop comes king high. I'm not going anywhere, but he is repping a stronger range than us as the limp caller. He decides to bet. All bet sizes are announced in Spanish, which doesn't really do anything for me since I don't understand the big Spanish numbers other than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which I learned in 8th grade.
Quincy! Booyah!
What does a Quincy Orcha mean? White devil.
So with the gut shot and queen high, he bets 550,000. Don't see too much reason to raise here in position, so we just put in the call, hoping for a 7, king, safe run out, whatever. And the turn's a 3. He shouldn't have much 3x in his range, neither should I. There are 2 combos of ace-3 suited, of course, which he might have, but we're not too scared of that. He decides to down bet on the turn about 25% of pot, setting up a river jam in theory. Of course, with top pair, we're not too worried. We're going to be putting in the call here and playing some rivers. We both use almost all of our 30-second time bank on every street because, not that we're Hollywooding, I mean, our brains are working overdrive. You know, it's been a long tournament. This is day 3, even though I regged on day 2. Shout out to all the late reggers, all the late reg haters out there. I double check, make sure we got top pair before committing thousands of dollars of equity. $500,000 is the bet. Yellow chips are 50K, blue chips are 25K, and we put in the call. 2.9 million in the middle, and you won't believe of the river. Queen of hearts on the river. Jack 10 gets there. Pocket queens now beat us. Could he have something like ace queen of diamonds? Very possible. I mean, he has queen jack. He thinks about it for a while, and he does something I don't expect. He bets 10% a pot. This is a thing in solver world. This isn't just him clicking buttons. Clearly a seasoned pro. So what do you do with top pair with a kicker that doesn't play after he ISO'd, raised pre, bet the flop, turn, and river? Instinctually, it's like, okay, easy call. You got me beat. You got me beat. But then I start thinking, Why would he bet so small if he had me beat? What is he targeting? I really put him on a hand like ace queen, pocket jacks, maybe even pocket tens at this point. Something in my gut says I should raise for value, but how much? Do I shove it all in? Do I risk my tournament if I'm wrong? If he just snaps me off with aces, ace king, king queen? All possibilities.
That looks like, oh man, if he does, this would be...
He's a beast, man.
Absolutely sick.
You can see the gears turning.
I decided to make it look a little more bluffy.
He went for all of it.
Wow.
Not quite all of it.
What a beast. What an absolute beast.
So not a click back. He is trying to make this look a little bit bluffy and maybe try and induce a hero call here from Fonseca.
Keeping chips behind on the off chance that he has me beat with ace king, aces, etc. Or it looks like I'm bluffing and I can still come back with our 5 blinds if wrong, if he snaps me off. So I make it 1.7 with 1 second left in the time bank, and he goes deep in the tank. He's using his time cards, multiple time cards, and at this point I'm thinking, okay, he's got a worse hand. He's got queen 10, queen jack, ace queen. He blocker bet the river for value, and now he's trying to figure out what the hell I'm raising with. Graphics are slightly wrong. You can clearly see I have 525K behind, but overall, great job by the graphics team and staff at Punta del Este Enjoy Poker Tour. Excellent dealers, excellent floor men. With the clock ticking down, he's running out of time. He has to make a decision with second pair. What would you do with queen jack here? My bluffs are going to be missed diamond draws, and I could possibly be turning a 9 into a bluff. He puts in the call. We show him the bad news.
He does make the call. Look at this.
Oh my god.
Well
what
done,
a sap.
Boski.
And Boski, he's so funny. Boski's, yeah, listen to everybody. Listen to him loving it. Listen to the rail. Let's go.
He mucks, and for the first time, heads up, I get out of my chair and go over to the rail in a little celebration. It feels good, man. We have taken over the chip lead heads up with this pivotal hand.
This hand, don't even try to solve it with a solver. Let's think it through. This is where hand reading and experience and connecting dots comes into play. Kings would very often check flop or turn. From my experience, the way most players play, they're going to be checking at one of the streets, and it makes a lot of sense. So here, the hands we're targeting are hands like ace-9, jacks and tens and queens that need some protection, that keep betting flop and turn. There's a flush draw, there's some straight draws. There also, any 9 is going to continue calling on the turn, and we're going to have more 9x than actually king x. We're not going to be limp calling king deuce off. We're very often just going to be raising it, but we're going to have even 10-9 off. We're going to have jack 10. We're going to have 9-8 suited, 9-7 suited, all these kind of hands, even off-suited combos. Now, on the river, it makes sense to block bet those jacks, tens, or even those queen jack, queen tens, right? We have seen it. And since we're very likely not going to have a queen, right? Ace queen would jam pre-flop or 4-bet or whatever, or 3-bet. So if our opponent rivers a queen or has a strong ace-9, it makes a lot of sense to go for that small block bet against our weaker 9x. So I really like the way Boski is excluding a lot of these very strong hands. I think the reason why our opponent called is because Boski's not repping a lot of good hands. Well played, great value jam. This is what I'm preaching for more than 10 years in poker coaching. Improve your value betting game, and that's an excellent, fantastic game. That shows what a great poker player Boski is.
The very next hand, I lose a small pot, king 8 to king jack. We get away on the turn, no big deal. And then I realize I still have the chip lead. I wouldn't voluntarily play heads up for $45,000. That's a lot of money. Honest year's work that we're gambling for. So I ask him, would you like to discuss a deal?
Oh, discuss a deal? The no swap, no check.
What?
Boski wants to discuss.
Cut the camera. Cut
he
the
must
camera.
Be trolling.
Shh, no audio.
He must be trolling.
The dealer pauses the clock. The stream goes on break and we start talking. Enjoy Poker Tour does not facilitate deals, so it's a matter of trust. I already have it in my mind that I'm not going to deal and give up the trophy and the title.
And it looks like we are going to be discussing a deal in fact right now. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back and we'll see. I cannot believe this is even an option for somebody like Boski, but hang in there. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Are you
my
kidding
God,
me?
This has to be a joke. This is a joke. Is this April Fool's?
We're heads up in the high roller. 145,000 for first, 100 for second. We're both winners no matter what happens. I have a slight chip lead, 6.2 million to about 5.9 million, give or take. I look down at pocket aces. We're in the big blind. He has the button. He makes it 275,000 to go. 60,000, 120,000. We're gonna 3-bet. We've been 3-betting nonstop. I make it 800,000. Looking to induce, a little bit smaller than normal. Trying to show some weakness. He takes the bait and makes it 1.6 million, just over a click back. Do we just call with aces out of position, or do we click it back on him, start the leveling war? I decide to click it back to 2.3 million, praying for action. And action we get, he shoves all in. I Phil Hellmuth those chips right in the middle.
He just shoves the freaking chips in and slams his hand down. That was amazing.
And he's got kings. Can you believe it? Aces versus kings, heads up for all the money. And the flop comes king high. The turn is a brick. I do have him covered, as I said in the stream.
No way! No way! Oh my God, you can't make this up, chat. Holy shit. What a freaking finish.
But the river is the ace, and we got him. First place, all the money, all the glory, all the fame. Excellent player, and this is what actually happened. The reality of the situation is the numbers were around like 123 and change and 122 and change for just a straight chop. And he said the trophy means a lot to him. I said the trophy means a lot to me, the title. I said, all right, we can just do even if I get the title. And that's the reality of the situation. The floor said, that's no problem. We can't facilitate the deal. The fine people at ACR will facilitate the deal. Everybody's happy. The floor said, but wait, we got to play one more hand. And one more hand we did play. Sure, they did set up the deck for this hand to occur. It's for the show. We chopped. I didn't win 145. I've always been transparent in the vlog, and this is the reality. So we're both winners, and we're both happy with the result. And shout out to my man right here. Give him a follow on Instagram.
Yep.
After many hours of play, one man emerged victorious after a chop. But I got the trophy. I got the official win. Consider that a big victory. $120,000 profit, which means a lot, but you can't put a price on the happiness of this moment with the whole team, the whole crew. It's been surreal. Just happy to have this opportunity.
I wasn't supposed to be here, but for some reason, the famous slogan kept ringing in my head. Just do it. We did it. We won the $3,300 Punta del Este Enjoy Poker Tour High Roller Kickoff event. We came, we saw, we conquered. Let's continue crushing the poker tables. We got our squad here. We are a team. We made the right decision. Let's keep the momentum going. If you are new to online poker and you don't have an ACR account, now is the time to sign up. Deposit using promo code BOSKI and you're in the action. 100% deposit bonus to be released over time as you play. Check out all the low stakes tournaments. Gamble responsibly. Do not risk more than you can afford to lose. See on the tables I play as the Boski. I could not have achieved this without the skills that I've learned from RaiseYourEdge.com, Ben CB, sharing all the valuable information for the low cost. Use my promo codes in the descriptions below. Learn before you earn at RaiseYourEdge.com. Stay tuned for more vlogs from Uruguay. You won't believe what happens.